Welcome to Week in One, where we take a look at news that made headlines this week. I'm Malungelo Boy. Let's get into it. Eskom has received yet another bailout from Treasury, but its financial woes are far from over. Various municipalities owe it over 30 billion rand, and in Soweto, some residents are still refusing to pay up. ENCA's Aviwe Mtila has more.
We will never pay Eskom.
Lerato Mogapi is the Secretary General of the Soweto Action Committee, an organization formed by the community to address concerns around Eskom. As it stands, township residents owe the power utility around 17 billion rand in unpaid electricity bills. That's the same amount owed to the parastatal by close to 60 municipalities. In the top 5 defaulting municipalities, 3 are from the Free State with a combined debt of over 6 billion rand. Soweto residents are simply shrugging their shoulders.
How are we going to pay it with the unemployment rate that we are currently facing within the society? Hence, we are saying we are not going to pay it, but let's talk around conventional, which that was the third option that we gave to them. They told us about prepaid, but we said no, conventional, because honestly speaking, it should have been free electricity for all.
Experts say if defaulters don't pay, it could prove catastrophic for Eskom and its credit rating.
It could mean that government will have to step in and take over the servicing of Eskom's 420 billion rand debt. It could affect the country's credit rating if that were to happen.
With the possibility of Soweto and defaulting municipalities paying up waning, can Eskom afford to write off the debt?
Well, they certainly can't afford to write it off, but they're going to have to write it off. If you can't collect it, you have to write it off in due course.
Eskom has 420 billion rands worth of debt. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni has allocated the state-owned enterprise 69 billion rand over the next 3 years. Aviwe Mtila, Johannesburg.
At the same time, opposition parties in Parliament say the power utility is holding the country hostage. They claim last week's load shedding was an underhanded tactic by Eskom to force a bailout from Treasury. The MPs were replying to Finance Minister Tito Mboweni's budget. ENCA's Peladi Setusa reports.
MPs say Eskom is blackmailing its way out of paying its dues by plunging consumers into darkness.
We as South Africa have a metaphorical knife to our throat, and we are being forced to pay a never-ending ransom to Eskom, or else the throat will be slit and the result will be a full-out blackout.
Eskom's policy of blackmail seems to have paid off. Now that they've received the bailout money, load shedding has vanished into thin air.
Parliamentarians reckon maintenance problems, a bloated staff complement and maladministration are fueling the Eskom crisis. Minister Pravin Gordhan was unable to disagree with many of the points raised.
Honourable Chairperson, the cost of maintenance, which is on the one hand extravagant, if you like, but on the other hand doesn't give us the quality of maintenance that is actually required.
Gordhan tried to assure MPs work is being done to cut costs, starting with the unbundling process. But that move is still being questioned.
To privatize state-owned entities, especially those that are strategic, you collapse them, make them unworkable and frustrate the masses, as is currently happening with load shedding. Then once everyone is angry with the state, you present private investors as saviors.
Gordhan reiterated privatization isn't the goal, but rather stabilizing this vital utility is. Peladi Setusa, Parliament.
To Bosasa now, the Facilities Management Company is applying for voluntary liquidation at the High Court. That's after FNB and ABSA announced they would be closing the company's bank accounts due to reputational risks. The company, now known as African Global Operation, has been plagued by bribery allegations for the past 10 years. Govan Whittles takes a look.
In 2009, an SIU report uncovers how Bosasa allegedly bribed Correctional Services Commissioner Linda Mti for catering and security contracts. But nothing happens. 10 years on, the company has a different name. It makes headlines again when former COO Angelo Agrizi tells the State Capture Commission the SIU was spot on. Just a week later, the hawks swoop on Agrizi and other Bosasa officials. And on Monday, the company submits its voluntary liquidation application to the High Court after being notified banks will close its accounts. Several government departments are now uncertain about the future of their contracts with the controversial firm. Correctional Services is setting up a war room to deal with the fallout of the liquidation, which will affect 46,000 inmates at 7 facilities. But it's not the only department looking at its contracts with African Global Operations.
I have asked the Ethics Council to review any business that the provincial government has ever done with Bosasa.
Police and Prisons Union POPCRU is welcoming the closure of Bosasa's accounts.
The disintegration of facilities is one of the issues that has actually happened, because I think even when you look at the services they provided, there's nothing substantial to actually show that there was work done.
African Global Operations spokesperson Papa Leshabane is refusing to comment on the impact of the company's downfall. Govin Whittles, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, the sudden announcement that Bosasa would go into voluntary liquidation came as a huge shock to some staff. Security guards working at the Lindela Repatriation Center staged a demonstration on Monday, demanding better pay and improved working conditions. They were threatening to go on a full-blown strike until they found out they could soon be out of work. Reporter Leranzo Temba has more.
Guards tasked with guarding this high-security center didn't report for duty on Monday morning. Instead, they marched to the head offices of the employer, demanding better working conditions.
We just want them to just give us what we deserve, because already we have a lot of colleagues here. They've been working for 15 years, but even somebody who's being hired yesterday is going to get the same salary. So basically there's nothing that is uplifting us at work. They don't care about us.
Workers have given African Global Operations 7 days to respond to their demands or face a full-blown strike. However, they're also aware with the company's application for voluntary liquidation means their jobs are no longer guaranteed. Workers were caught completely off guard when told about the company's future.
We are very worried. It's just that we learned this morning when we arrived here that the company is undergoing liquidation. We were not aware all along. We were only informed upon our arrival here that the company is experiencing that kind of situation. So we are very, very worried, because what will mean is employees' jobs are on stake. Anything can happen.
African Global Operations has an excess of 4,500 employees who will be affected by the looming job losses. Leranzo Temba, Krugersdorp.
ANC spokesperson Bule Mabe isn't off the hook for sexual harassment just yet. That story and more when we return.